Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have Maritza Coscarelli joining us here today. So excited to have her here. She's a transformational keynote speaker, also holistic entrepreneur, certified life coach. Let me have her introduce herself because there's so many titles to Maritza's name here. So please, you may wear many hats here. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Jill. I'm Maritza Coscarelli, everyone. And Jill, I think you said it all. I usually say I'm a former ballerina and contemporary dancer turned lifestyle entrepreneur. And I happen to coach mature women into their self-empowerment. I also work with heart-centered men, and I speak on the 5 keys to your self-empowerment when I keynote.
Oh my goodness, this is exciting. Now, how do we reach out to you off the top? Would you mind sharing your website and forms of contact with us?
Absolutely. Everything is eponymous, but it's not an easy name. Maritza. I always say, like the Ritz-Carlton, Maritza Coscarelli, Coscarelli.com. Everything that is on social media, be it Instagram, Facebook, is either under my name or my name with coaching following it. Maritza Coscarelli Coaching.
Perfect.
And you can find everything you need there. I would love to hear from you. What I say that's different about me right off the bat is that I am super accessible. I love meeting new friends I haven't met yet and building relationships with people. And you're not going to get one of my representatives, not just yet. It could happen someday. But right now, you have full access to the two of us getting to know each other better like Jill and I are.
Great. And where are you based out of?
I'm based out of the beautiful island of Palm Beach, Florida, the Atlantic in the backyard, a dream manifested for sure. I'm a native New Yorker, New York City girl from the Heights, Washington Heights.
Fantastic. I'm a Long Island gal and still actually live in Long Island, but New York City worker and Long Island. So really great to see you. Got such great positive energy. Let's find out more about you. Tell us, I know where you grew up now. What brought you into this field?
What brought me into this field is the belief that everyone has gifts, talents, and abilities that they're not living into. Everyone is capable of mastery. I learned that becoming a young ballet student and knowing from that very first, like 4-year-old little ballet lesson, oh, this is what I want to be when I grow up, and not taking into account all the physical, financial, and emotional limitations that existed. When you're a child, you don't let that factor in. And then life happens, right? And you begin to limit yourself according to how you're socialized, how you're educated. You let all that learning get in the way of you living. And what happens is you create limits out of things that are just speed bumps. They're just speed bumps. You know, when you're driving on a local street, and it's 20 or 25 miles per hour and your car goes boom because you didn't see the bump.
So
if we
true.
didn't see limits, we would achieve greatness. Everyone has it in them to do that. So I learned that in the ballet world for sure, and in the, in being a performing artist.
Wow.
And that's how I transitioned to this. It was like, oh, I'm going to be a high performance coach. But we'll talk in a minute about how, like, this hardcore stuff I learned is not the way to success. Not anymore, for sure.
Oh, okay. I got to ask. So, can you talk about it now, or do you want to go down the path? You got me. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. We can go back to it because I want to.
Jill, when I first got acquainted with you, I realized, oh my gosh, we're like soul sisters, like best friends who haven't met yet. I mean, I don't know if you feel that, so it might be a little creepy.
No, it's not. This is so cool. I have a new friend. I love you. I love you. I'm going to follow you on social media. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So what I mean by that is, especially women or certain groups of people, like, we got to go harder, we got to be better, we push ourselves, we criticize ourselves terribly. Maybe not everybody does that. Maybe I'm some anomaly, but I realized, I learned about how that caused me to sabotage certain successes and how it doesn't really make for joy along the journey.
Yes.
And feeling good and finding that happiness is in the small moments and really having this positive way of being is something that's cultivated through practices, right? Through behaviors, through habits. And it doesn't have to be the hardest all the time. You know, the thing that's really popular right now is 75 hard. Have you heard of 75?
No.
I won't say a lot on it because we're giving him free marketing, but this
Okay.
guy's become famous for his book and his program. And it's basically a gallon of water a day, 2 workouts a day, read 10 pages, spend 10 minutes in silence, might be in there or not. So it's
Okay.
like a formula and an app, and you have to do it for 75 straight days. I decided when I saw people I knew doing it and was inspired, I was like, oh, I could so do this. And then I was like, wait, I don't want to do anything that hard anymore. I'm going to
Hmm.
create my own
Oh,
75 stuff. And I am going to realize that I can modify things and do challenges that also pay off
that
and
aren't
also
as extreme and makes you
everything
feel
doesn't have
good.
to be the same. Yeah. Your energy is like your most valuable asset.
Hmm. Absolutely
And
is.
yep. And we need to know how to build energy, how to conserve energy, how to replenish that. And that is what makes for high performance, that equanimity. Balance is perpetual motion. Everyone wants me to speak on work-life balance. So I wrote a talk called Balance Schmalance.
I
It's a
like it.
thing.
It does, yeah.
You can have it all, just not all at the same time and not all hardcore because you are a human being. And more importantly for us, we're women. We're like the queens and goddesses of the universe. Diva is a Spanish word for goddess.
I didn't know
And if
that.
you're a goddess or a queen, please act as such.
Mm. And let's talk about this because your business is all about empowering women and heart-centered men, entrepreneurs in a sense, leaders, and to help elevate their voice, as you say. Could you share a little bit about the specifics of what you do? Because there's so much to the one-on-one coaching, to all you have to offer as a speaking coach as well. So where did you want to begin?
Well, I would like to begin with the fact that we all have a gift. And that gift that we all have in common, most of us have the capability, are born, right? And in our first year, 2 years, we learn how to utter words. Think about that. If you're a mom, how marvelous it is
Yeah.
when a little child, I remember my son's
I was going to say, how many kids do you have?
Oh, I
And
have two
how old?
marvelous kids. Oh, well, that'll take a whole other like
Oh,
program, right? Because you can talk about your children forever. I have two adults as children, and my son is in New York City, successful as a journalist and soon to be published author by Simon Schuster. Very
wow.
exciting. When your son says you want to be a writer, you don't think, oh, he's going to be a huge success, bestseller. You think he's going to be in a hotel room with an empty vodka bottle wanting to
Yes.
die. But that's not what I
Sense of
thought.
humor. Yes. Wow.
I didn't know he
Congratulations.
was.
You
Thank
don't
you.
look
He's
old
getting
enough to
married.
have adult children. I'm
He's
shocked.
getting married in November. I'm like, where did the time go? Oh my God. And I love
Congrats.
her. Everyone asks, do you love your future daughter-in-law? She's marvelous for him and a marvelous young woman. And then I
Wonderful.
have a daughter, and she is in Los Angeles, but she was also in New York for 10 years. And she relocated because she's in love with a marvelous young man, but she decided to get her own apartment, featured on domino.com. You know what Domino
Uh,
magazine is.
oh
She's
my
a style
gosh.
curator, an influencer, and a fashion market editor. She is all over the world. I'm so proud of them. So those are my two kids, and I remember their first words. And his was bud because he couldn't say his R's because we would walk at night in our neighborhood. We had just built a little house near St. Augustine, Florida, and we would walk at night when the moon was rising. And then he learned to say moon. And you never forget that. So why am I talking about this? The offer that I have for people is elevate your message and your voice for good.
Wow.
Do it for the good of you and for the good of others. Do it because it's free marketing. It doesn't cost you a darn thing except the time, energy, and focus
Yeah.
to write a clear message, to learn how to share it captivatingly and compellingly, and to do with that whatever you want. And I
Yeah.
am the person that can get you to do that in 3 months. In 3 months, we can start from zero, like, I don't want to overshare. I'm scared to death. I'd rather give a eulogy or be in the coffin than give a
Yep.
eulogy. People are terrified. There's a name for it. It's called glossophobia. 64 million people terrified of
Whoa.
public speaking.
Wow.
And yet, like, how else do you build a movement? How do you share a message? how could you market and go from zero, right, to a profitable business in what seems overnight? Gather your thoughts, choose an audience, know your unique brilliance. It's in there somewhere. It's a diamond in the rough, like Aladdin, right?
Yeah.
Word out there, get your message out there. And so that's what I do with people one to one in a short period of time. And it's kind of, you can tell by how I talk about it, it's one of my favorite things to do. My coach years ago asked me, no, 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 don't tell me about your strategy or your business plan. Tell me what lights you up, Maritza. And I
Oh,
said, I stood in the light, like the bright light of a stage. You've probably done that too, Jill. A lot of people don't get to do that in a lifetime. It gives me chills. You got to appreciate the things you get to do in life, whatever
yeah.
they are. And I
Yes.
said, I stood in the hot lights and danced my heart out. And,
Aw.
I stood on sets, major film sets, major commercial sets. And it's a small population that gets to do that. But what lights me up now is putting people in their light,
Yeah.
putting the light on for someone, right? Letting them have their moment in the light. Oh my God, that lights me up.
Wow. You are just so positive and so inspirational. I love that you love helping people. And specifically, could you share some of your client experiences? Some people out there maybe to empathize with, oh, well, that could be me, or I'm struggling with this. Maybe Maritza can help me with this. Could you share a little bit more?
Sure. You know how the hybrid cars and the electric cars are like the future? Well, actually, they're the present, right? They're happening.
Yeah.
So, as a coach, I'm a hybrid, right? I'm certified and experienced in life coaching by the Coach Training Alliance and the International Coach Federation. And I did that by choice. I met with a mentor coach before I went to coaching school or whatever. And he said, you could hang a shingle today just based on your personality, your life experiences, and your college studies, and you'd be ready, done. But I chose to do that. Then I did the same with leadership. Now I've done the same with public service and community coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm what they call a distinguished Toastmaster. So Toastmasters International, if you're not familiar, it's where speakers and leaders are made. And DTM
Congrats.
are the top 2% of that. It means you've given hundreds of speeches, you've served as an officer on the board, you've mentored others, and you talk about client stories. I think of one in particular that was very special because it had a lot of nuance. So a speech and a story are like a joyride, like a roller coaster, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And and this particular story, I'll tell the very short version of it. I won't use her real name, so we'll call her Annabelle. So Annabelle made the call, meaning she set up, anyone can do this that's listening. She set up a
Mm-hmm.
complimentary breakthrough call. I call them complimentary breakthrough calls because that's what they are. They are not sales calls. Book your call, people. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hard sell you anything. I don't sell anything. I service people, and if they want what I've got, then we'll talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So she made the call, and I knew her from a mindset retreat and knew that she too was actually a master's of social work, a counselor wanting to segue into coaching. She was terrified of her own voice and presence, even though she was a counselor, even though she had performed as a child,
Just never
or
know.
maybe
Yeah.
because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, after our first call, she wrote me a long email. She'll love hearing this story on your show. She wrote me a long email, and it was basically a lovely, well written email saying, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but, and she said that more than once, which usually means someone's trying to tell you how to do your job.
Exactly. Yep.
And I thought, I'm not answering this email yet. I'm going to let it sit. We can both marinate and reflect on this. Next morning, I read it again. Yep, not answering it yet. Eventually, I answered with one line, I think we should talk for 15 minutes. So we had another call. And we had a simple conversation. And basically, she was saying, I'm not looking for a life coach. I'm just looking for somebody to help me feel confident speaking about my new business and this new future identity I'm stepping into. And I said, yes. And that's what we're going to do. Well, in 3 months' time, 3 weeks' time, she was on podcasts, she was presenting. By 3 months, we had like her signature talk written, rehearsed, feedback. I'm great at giving, actionable feedback. And in all areas, the content and the delivery. And she began to build this thriving coaching business. not only that, she began to enjoy her life. I started to see her social media where she had set up a table at a market in her neighborhood on weekends where she would do like quick coaching and chatting with people and people getting to know her in this new role, you know.
Yeah.
And she then did a testimonial and she said, I thought that I could separate my life from my leadership. I thought that I could be terrified, scared, and not work out my stuff. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
language. I don't know what language you allow on this show. I'm a New
You could
Yorker, so
say
sometimes I
anything.
want to
Yes,
drop
anything
the
goes.
bomb, right? Like, you know, you can't not work through your shit and shine your brightest. You just can't. They're not separate entities. You
Mm-hmm.
lead how you live how you lead. When you get to that point, you become influential, impactful, and you raise your income because you bring so much value. You got to bring your whole self.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
Absolutely.
wants just pieces of you, and then everything else is hidden, you know. And that doesn't mean you overshare because you have a right to privacy and to a brand and public image. I'm not saying you don't have a private and public self. People confuse that sometimes. I'm saying when you integrate your whole self into this public persona that you bring, people feel it. They
Wow.
don't care what you say, they care how you make them feel.
It's true. You're right. Wow. So
So
the,
she's a success story. They're not all success stories, and they're not all overnight successes. In fact, you and I both know there's no such thing.
yep, takes a lot of hard work. And by the way, Maritza, what else did you want to share on the show today? I mean, I know you've worked with us before. I just want to make sure we're covering everything that's important. Did you have an area of focus for us today in particular?
Yeah, I thought about a mini version of my story real quick. I
Sure.
say that I went from a wild-haired toddler that couldn't stop dancing, even just to the music in my head, to being locked in my room in the dark because I wouldn't listen when my dad said, calm down, pipe down, get away from in front of the TV, stop singing and dancing. So, you know, they applied it along until they didn't. There was a control factor that we experienced, right, when we're parenting. And it really shut my light. And I learned to be a people pleaser. I learned to perform on demand, what was asked of me, when it was asked of me. I learned to over deliver. These are not terrible things. These set me up really well for the ballet, for the
Yep.
ballet world.
Yeah.
And then against physical, emotional, and mental barriers, I succeeded. I became a paid professional in a dance company by the time I was 19, while I was still in college. And man, you would have thought I was top of the world. I remember when they first said, we're touring in Italy this summer. And I remember exactly. I remember arriving in Reggio Emilia. I don't think I was 20 yet, and at the opera house in the piazza. And I remember going into this dressing room that was like red velvet couches, like out of the 1800s, like the big bulbs around the
Yeah.
mirror. And I remember thinking, oh, this must be the girls' dressing room. And they said, no, this is your dressing room. And you would have thought that I was like at the height of success and life and a dream come true. And I was. And guess what? I was also so ill equipped for my life. I was my worst self critic. I did everything at every turn and I got physically injured. Mentally, I was grieving. It was a time where I was losing friends to AIDS and to other things, drug issues. I was in the East Village of New York City at New York
Mm-hmm.
University, rehearsing on the Upper West Side, traveling the world. And I wanted to die, literally. I had a lot of suicidal ideation. And I thought I met my knight in shining armor. He is that today, decades later, happily married for many decades.
Wait, you reunited later? This is another amazing
Yes,
story.
yeah. And what happened is that his illness, his problems became a light on mine. Like, oh gosh, we could divorce, year in, no kids, lots of debt, not getting along, or I have something to learn here. That's when my journey of personal and professional development began. That's when I went into therapy. I went into 12-step programs supporting someone I loved. I began this journey that is never ending. And I love the process so much. And what a gift now that I get to bring a lifelong of experiences and learning that's still happening. I'm still like that humble warrior, like, I don't even know what I don't know. Somebody teach me, somebody help me, right? Because you want that uncertainty in your life because that's where the splendiferous surprises lie. I not only survived, but I learned how to thrive with a tremendous amount of gratitude, with focus. And so, what I want to say to people today is every bit of adversity is your opportunity. And even if you're kind of flying high, like I should have been, right? This adorable, young, talented ballerina doing what she dreamt of, right? I had a poster in my room from the fourth grade with a ballerina on it, and it said, if you can dream it, you can believe it. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. And I bought into that mantra, right? And then it was like a house of cards, like it was all tumbling down.
It didn't make you happy.
It didn't make me happy. And I had so much to learn from that. And it isn't happening to you. If you're out there and you're
Yeah.
listening, even if you feel top of the world, but there's a void, I'm saying in a 4-step process with 3 sub steps in each one, 5 keys to your self empowerment will set you free to joy, freedom, abundance, and more well being at any age than you can imagine. So I'm going to be sharing with Jill moving forward, and we're going to have so much
Ah.
how to do that step by step, right? Key by key. I say, dust off the treasure trove that's hidden in your closet. Grab this key ring that I have for you. It belongs to you. It's not my keys. We each have our own way.
Oh
And
my
lock those
goodness.
treasures because your life is only a blink of what you can imagine, right? It's more than you can imagine.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Thank you for sharing because a lot of people, it reminds me of a Miley Cyrus song called It's the Climb. You
Oh,
ever hear that? But it's so
love it.
true. It's like you
Love
get
her.
there and then it's like, well, it's not what I expected. I still want more. I want something different. So it's good to have that. I got goosebumps, that climb and journey. But sometimes when you get to the peak, it's not what you thought it would be. Oh, I got such
And she
goosebumps.
lived that. If people don't know Miley's story, look it up,
Mm-hmm.
listen to the song. If you don't know
Yep.
the song, because that's lived experience. I want to give people one thing to take away today, actionable thing. And that is you are so worth the quiet time of self-reflection twice a day that you deserve and that will change your mind, rewire your brain of anything that stands in the way of you standing in your light, of you really feeling your own definition of success and enjoying it. So afford yourself, beginning right now, 11 minutes in the morning and 11 minutes at night. No music, no guided meditation, no formula. Deep breaths and quiet and be with it. And a lot of stuff is going to race through your mind, but one day you're going to do that,
Yeah.
going to see, feel, think, and believe more clearly than you are today. So that's the actionable thing for today. Start there. Start raising your self awareness, your consciousness from the inside out.
Wow. Beautifully said. Thank you so much. And for people out there who are, inspired to work with you, there's so much to you. And again, I got to point out the website one more time. Would you mind sharing that?
Not at all. MaritzaCoscarelli.com. And I think when you see this podcast, they will have my name in print there. So I won't take the time with all those vowels to spell
Yeah.
it again. But at MaritzaCoscarelli.com. And same on Instagram, just put my name in, it'll come up. I think I have an underscore between my first and last name on Instagram. I can't believe there's another Maritza Coscarelli out there, but they're out there.
Wow. Wow. Well, I love it. Again, I'm going to spell it for those listening today. MaritzaCoscarelli.com. Go
Yes.
to the website. You can see a list of her services, how you can work with her. And let me ask you, is there anything in particular, how long does it take to, I'm sure it's different and customized for everyone, but do you have any packages or programs that usually work best? 3 months, 6 months? Is there anything like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Sorry I interrupted you. It's just such a great
Okay.
question. You know your coaching world because that's exactly how I work. 3 months to your signature talk, right? 6 months to being expanded and transformed, and a full transformation in 1 year's time. And what happens so customarily is that people realize it's a process that's ongoing. And I have some women with me on their second or third year, and happily, It's not that I don't want to set them free. I do. I'm like, you're good, go fly, but they understand that there's always, they say deeper level, deeper devil. There's always more to clear. What got you here won't get you there where you want to
Yeah,
go.
so true.
So, yeah, so I do 3, 6 months, and 12 months. I also am available to speak at your events. I'm excited about having a live event in October here on the island. So exciting. I'm excited about the book, Empowered, coming out in January. So there's lots of goodness coming for all of you. I believe in being radically happy and radically generous.
Yeah, and she says on the site, are you tired of having great ideas, setting them goals, but not seeing them realized? Do you not show up as confidently or communicate as clearly as you would like to? Maybe you lack clarity, motivation, self-discipline, and accountability to implement real and lasting change on your own, or ever get that growing, that gnawing feeling, I should say, you're meant to have more. That's why you're here. You're helping people to get started. You can go to the website there and you can click on the link and begin there. Do you offer an initial consultation with someone who's interested?
Yes, always a complimentary breakthrough call on my calendar. It's 15 minutes, but I don't believe in working by the clock necessarily on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so usually it goes a little bit longer and it's a breakthrough call. And then it's followed if we don't decide. Sometimes people are like, let's get started. And I think that's great. If you have a little inkling today listening to this and you're like, I think this is for me, act on that. Because when you don't, do you know what happens to that? It dissipates into the ethos and the universe, and that inspiration goes to someone else that
Mm-hmm.
will act on it. So yesterday was a really good time to do this. And today is also the perfect time. It's never too late. It's never too early. It's just in time.
And let me ask this. I read something on the site. I know it's not up yet, but it's about VIP coaching beach days. What's that about?
So the teaser for that, right, is going to be the experience here. There's a little B&B down the street. We're meeting there for 1 night and 2 days. It's limited to 30, I think 40 women max, women only this time. I hope you can come, Jill. Oh my gosh, we'd meet in real life.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm collaborating with some other great light workers, wonderful
Wait, is
professionals.
this the event in October? I'm confused.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay, okay. I didn't know.
yes.
I
And
didn't know.
it's
Okay.
and then
Sorry.
it leads to, if you want to join, there'll be 3 offers, and one of them is the VIP beach days, but you'll experience with a group what a VIP beach day looks like.
Oh my goodness. And what brought you to Florida and Palm Beach, you said
Yeah,
specifically?
Joe's work has brought me to 18 homes in 25 years.
What does
Now it's
he
been
do?
longer
Do you
than
mind me
that. He's
asking?
in the auto industry, and he
Wow.
became known as the fixer for private and publicly owned dealerships. So he came in,
Wow.
looked at the whole operation, either got it ready to sell or cleaned up their act so they could succeed as they are.
Amazing.
And then we do, I say we because I'm on the business too, even though I don't physically work it every day. We buy and sell luxury and exotic vehicles. And I don't
Wow.
drive one, I drive a Mini. That tells you a little bit about getting to know me. We have to do like a quick fire one day, Jillian. I want to
Yes,
hear your too, Jill. Like the things you don't
absolutely.
know about me that would surprise you.
Yes, this
People are
is
like, oh, what's your
awesome.
Bentley? I'm like, I would never drive one. I drive a Mini
I
convertible.
have a 2012 Ford Focus that I rock, and then I have two kids, and me and their father. I'm a single mom, but share a Chevy Traverse, so nothing fancy here, but it's nice to look at. I feel like I would damage a fancy car if I had the money, to be honest. And it costs so much more to fix. But all right, we'll talk more about that another
We'll talk
time.
more about that. It's like, why do you want the money and what would you do with it is always a great reflection. That's another actionable today. Why do
All
you
right,
want the money and what would you do with it? You can
all
have
right,
as much as you want. It's all out there for the taking.
all right. Maritza Coscarelli, pleasure talking to you today. Looking forward to connecting further, and hopefully we'll be in contact next week.
Thank you so much. I'm going to see you soon.
All right, I
Thanks,
can't wait.
everybody.
Thank you so much for
Come back
everything.
next week.
All right, you have
Thanks.
a great day. To all of our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the podcast.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.